was had a 3-hour ice time yesterday. I don't think this is gonna go too well. Oh! What's that? What am I playing? Oh, my foot. Oh, it got. Nope. Yes, I made a save! Ah! I ate it. Turn around. Every now and then I'll feel a little bit. Oh, eh. Rebound clearing 101. Oh, God! Fastest chest in the league. Ooh, a little passe, Warren. Yeah. Big shoulder. Oh. I got you, Warren! Nope. Falcon punch. Falcon kick. On behalf of all of us, I apologize.
So footage of my junior B tent.
Nope. Falcon punch. Falcon kick.
I've seen that guy on Insta.
If you're just listening, I pulled that off of NHL's Instagram from today. That is some junior goalie who was mic'd up for a whole game. And this is why players should be mic'd up. That is amazing. There's so many sound clips I want to pull from that. Like the Falcon punch. And the fact that mid-game, he's so bored. He's like talking to his defenseman like, hey, when's your flight get in? The guy's like, wait, what? Are you talking to me right now?
Goalie clips are so funny.
That is fantastic. It's just bored goalie is bored. Oh my. Honestly, like, if you needed any more evidence that they are a different breed out there on the ice, like, that's it. Even the rest of the guys on the ice are like, what are you doing? Like, he's benching the turnaround. Turn around.
Parents out there, if you want your kids to be well adjusted, don't put them on the goaltender position.
Oh. Yeah, imagine. But Samsonov with a mic on. Smiley shutout. Imagine what he says in between and all of the thankfulness to his teammates. Because after the game, man, he just praised his teammates. He's so humble. And I could just hear him like, oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, smile. Yes.
Can you imagine the things that he's saying during the game that whole time, man? Like, oh, I would love to hear, especially through his accent, because it would be like a mix of he'd be saying stuff to himself in Russian and then like saying things in English to other people. And like, oh man, I would just love to hear a goalie for the whole game. After hearing that, it's like, oh yeah, they have to stand out there for upwards of like minutes at a time with nothing going on. How do you stay focused on a professional sport when you're just like, no. How do soccer goalies do it? You could be out there for like 20 minutes and not face a shot. That's insane.
They're a whole
Only
different
6
breed,
shots
man.
for Sammy. Yeah. In the first period.
To have anything, whether it's a puck or a ball or anything fired at you or like shot at you or kicked at you, you have to be a pretty crazy person. Love you, Beaner. And with that, let's start the show.
Hi, this is Mike Ross, public address announcer for your Toronto Maple Leafs, and this is the Leafs Late Night Podcast, your post-game destination. And now, your starting lineup: Roscoe, the Fanalyst, Suthy, Beaner, and Darty Brodeur on the Leafs Late Night Podcast.
Alrighty, so welcome back to Leafs Late Night. I'm Roscoe, joined by Suthy and Steph the Fanalyst, and we're presented by Inside the Rink. Big win for the Leafs tonight. Looked I wouldn't want to say close, but the score was too close. It should have been much higher than it was. Somehow, Jonas Korpisalo just hangs on for the Blue Jackets while they are just hanging him out to dry. The best was the clip of him after, I think it was Engvall's breakaway at the end where he just threw his arms up. He's like, what am I doing here? This is nuts. Welcome back.
Yeah. Way to start it off fresh after the break and bye week, and all of us have been going a little cray-cray. I don't know about you guys, but Leafs Nation has been a little jittery because there's been no hockey. And what a way to start it. Home and home. First home for Columbus. And yeah, Sammy shutout. Smiles go all around. Yes, sir.
So I just want to say I did not realize that it was the Leafs bye week, and for some reason I had it in my head that like, oh, it's the All-Star break, so they get a week off. But then when there was games on Monday, I was like, wait, why aren't the Leafs playing? Oh, it's bye week, right? So here we are. Silly scheduling where the Leafs play in Columbus. They've just hung out in Toronto for the last, I don't know, since they got back from Florida, I guess, whoever went there. The ones that didn't are still in Toronto. They have to fly to Columbus. They just finished the game. They're probably heading back to the airport to fly back to Pearson tonight. That's insane. Yep. What is the scheduling? That's crazy. Crazy.
So crazy. And like tonight, I was hoping for a great result, especially, Leafs tend to play down to their opponent, and after the break there's some rust, and tonight there was some rust, not gonna lie. Like, there's a couple of plays and you can tell there's not a lot in the tank, but this is a team where this is an injured team, Columbus. They suck at everything this year. Even with the new superstar Johnny Gaudreau, I don't know, he's there for a vacation, there's no sun, like I don't know why the fuck he's there. But yeah, Jonas Corposalo was the only star for them tonight. I didn't hear much of Laine. I didn't hear much of anyone except Sullinger and Johnson a couple times.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at their IR. Jakub Voracek, Gustav Nyquist, Jake Bean, Justin Danforth, Igor Shinnikov, Carson Meyer, Zach Werenski, and Alex Texier. Great.
A lot of big names for them.
No kidding.
Yeah, they're fucked with that IR.
Yeah. So, but I guess the good positive thing to start off the night too, I guess, very refreshing to see. I missed the pregame, but you guys filled me in with the Pride jerseys there.
Oh, yeah.
Way to stick it to Torts, right? His former team as well.
I didn't even think of that. That's amazing. Yeah, and man.
Good to note.
Yes.
Yes. Good job, Blue Jackets.
Hope. And also, John Tavares, Riley, and Mitch Marner had Pride tape on their sticks. Like, they're not at home, and they do it often on the road as well. But tonight, like, they took the hint and just took that extra step. And fans notice these things. Everyone that's not saying, who fucking cares, notices these things. So it's much appreciated.
I think Gio did too, if I'm not mistaken. There were a couple, because there was somebody, when they zoomed in, I saw his stick was taped up like that. And I was like, oh, is that just you? And I was trying to see if anybody else's were, but by the time I caught it, it was too late. But yeah, I did catch the Blue Jackets Pride jerseys at the beginning, and it's nice just with all the controversy, and I hate to call it that, around Pride Night recently. It just, for them to come out and not even make any news about it, just the same way they always would, wear the jerseys and head into the game and not create a PR buzz around it. And those jerseys were sick. The numbers were like
here for yeah. Like, they're here for all our fans, and it's actually really, really nice to see. Like, they're not looking for fan for this. They're, not trying to make a big deal of it. They're just, like, strong allies.
Yeah, and the jerseys were cool because it was mostly just blacked out with like the Hockey's for Everyone on the shoulder, and the numbers were like an oil spill, translucent, like that rainbow kind of iridescent. I don't know how to put it, but it's what you see when there's like soap on top of something, when like the lights,
like a gasoline type image,
that cool
right?
jacket. Yeah, I don't know what you call that. I know, Steph, you were looking for the word. I don't, if anyone knows it, please send it in, because I have no idea. I've seen there was a car at the end of my street forever for sale that was painted like completely like that.
I've seen a couple of those, the metallic finish, but it has that sheen of, I don't know, unicorny, oily. This is so bad. Like, just the
Prism
iridescence.
Yeah.
But it was nice. Like, just, I don't know, like I said, just gives you hope in this world, especially with recent events. And, starting off this tonight, 6 straight games against teams who are not even close to playoff ready. So obviously Leafs want to collect some points here and make their push, try and get into first place into this division, catch up with Boston. And yeah, what a way to start it off.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught before the game, they were saying the Leafs have had the third hardest schedule up to this point,
Yeah,
and Tampa's had like the fourth easiest. So the fact that they're 2 points ahead of Tampa means if we're going off that, they could run away with the second half of the season here, the last third of it, I guess.
it's
And
an interesting thing with Toronto
solidify it.
because they're notorious for playing up to their competition and playing down to their competition. They've been a little better at it this year, and hopefully, like tonight, is a thing that they can progress on and build off. But they really, really need to bring their A game against teams who are, not in the playoff spot right now and who are dwelling at the bottom of the standings.
Yeah, we got another game against Columbus. We got 2 against Chicago and 1 against Montreal.
Correct.
Obviously, Montreal's always competition. They tend to, no matter how bad they're playing, it's always a pretty good game there. The ones I'm worried about are the Chicago games because, I mean, again, if they can keep up what they did tonight, where they just 110% come out full throttle and smash them in. I mean, obviously Corpusalo gave them a bit of a problem, and like Steph said, they were shaking some rust off and still down Matthews and all that. But yeah, the real test is going to be if they can keep it up against those 2 games in Chicago or against Chicago.
Completely
Yeah, totally agree. Yep. I feel like we can never get rid of Peter Mrazek's name. I feel like I say that once per episode. And heading to Chicago now, lots going on with the whole Patrick Kane thing. I guess we'll get to that later about Tarasenko. But
Yeah, and
yeah.
I think it'll be a good chance to look at some of the players on Chicago too, just because there's been so much talk about them and the Leafs making a deal. Having 2 games against them so close together before the deadline will be a good tell of where those players are at now. And instead of just people can pretend that I don't want to say pretend, but people will talk like they know about some of these players, and we're looking at numbers, but actually seeing them play against the Leafs. I mean, if you have the time to watch Chicago Blackhawks games, then kudos to you, but not all of us do. So it's cool right before the deadline to have those 2 games come up because
Completely agree.
All right.
Yeah.
Want to watch another funny clip before we get into the rest of this?
Sure.
It's a real short one. This is so funny.
That is pretty awesome.
Kids are made of rubber, man. What?
So for anyone who isn't watching, Johnny just put up a clip of a kid in a Tupperware container flying down a set of stairs and then revealing himself from the container saying, "That was awesome!"
they put a kid they put a kid in a Rubbermaid and just pushed him down like 10 stone stairs. He's like 3 years old.
That feels
That's
like year
fun.
1 university.
That's what we used to do, okay? Drink from the hose, just jump down flights of stairs and just said parkour before it was even a thing.
Yeah, I'll be home at dinner. I'm good.
Oh
God.
my lord, I love that so much. Okay. Moving on. So the way that I could sum this game up in like one quick little, short thing would be that Leafs got frustrated after not being able to score. It showed at the end of the second and into the beginning of the third. And then they
Yep.
went, "Oh, that's how you score on this guy." And then the game ended.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Literally right after I told our Discord that Leafs need 2 quick ones, a couple quick ones, and then it happened,
There you
which
go.
never
It happens.
happens.
Prediction season, baby.
But this first period, though, going on the power kill, 2 minutes 34 into the period just gives you that
Ugh,
thought.
that
Well, me
call.
anyways, is this going to be one of those games where it's back and forth power plays or what's going to go on here? But tonight we saw flashes of our power kill. It once again resurrected because Mitch Marner and Pierre Engvall as well on
Yeah.
these multiple breakaways. Damn, they almost scored.
Yeah, again, I mean, it helps that it's the last place team in the league, but it's good practice, right? Get that confidence back and bring it against some other teams. You know what?
It
That's
also-
something to bring out of these bad teams is practice the shit that you've been not so great at and do it well. And then you'll be like, hey, our power play is not so bad anymore. Neither is our penalty kill.
Kind of when it felt like all game. Like I feel Toronto had the upper hand almost like 80%, 85% of this game. They might not have like grade A chances, but they were always dominating the offensive zone. Their cycle was killing Columbus. Like they had no chance on that. Until the third period, they really never started like stacking goals, but I always felt like they were in complete control of this game. As Johnny said, there was like a bit at the end of the second period and beginning of the third where they started to lose it a little bit, but overall, I felt like this was a pretty in control win.
Yeah, and I think the thing they unlocked was you just need to make a disgusting pass across the slot to somebody else, and that's how you score on Jonas Korpisalo instead of taking shots at him all night. Because they got to 40 again.
42, I think.
Should have been 7-0,
41.
like I said on Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
but
Wow.
differing accounts, But okay, you mentioned that penalty in the first period, though. Wes McCauley with this phantom call on Zach Aston Reese, like at full speed, it looked. You think it was a good call?
That was a good call. That was a stupid fucking play by him.
Dude was going full speed into the boards.
He's going against the icing line, and you put your stick into his skates. That's automatically going to be called the chipping play. No matter what happens, that was 10 out of 10. Always going to be called.
Always going to be called. If you looked at it back, which obviously they can't, but it just to me it looked like what's his name came full speed into the boards with his feet together and just slammed where Aston Reese's stick is.
No. Not even is always going to be called. It's a dangerous play to put your like stick in the guy's skates right there. I don't know. I thought that was for sure a penalty and not something that he should be doing.
Well, right after that, the Leafs managed to get one back, and they go on the power play, and that is where we see the first of the beautiful passes. Mitch Marner to JT opens the scoring 1-0.
Yes. Oh my God. This play, like Riley even taking the shot, which deflects and breaks Corrali's stick. So they're already down to 3 guys. JT winning the battle in the corner, giving it to Marner, coming in from the point, walking down the middle, leans, fakes. He's like, just kidding. Gonna chip it to that corner of the side of the net, and JT backhanded in. And that chip pass was over Gabrick's stick. If you watch it again, I'm like, damn, I had to watch it a couple of times because there was a lot of elite, I don't know, sequences on this play.
Yeah.
Like it happened so quick, but the fact that he had to chip the puck over several sticks to keep it going, and like first shot of this power play as well, this is what we want to see. This is what we've been asking for.
Like, that
and no
sauce
other
pass
than our captain.
was crazy, but what JT did there on his backhand, coming right as it landed on his backhand, like he had no room and he just roofed it. That's a really, really hard goal to score.
That's why he's the captain, man. That's why he's JT.
10 power play goals this year too.
Damn.
And I got this one.
Do you see what Martin did
first
after?
overall pick, the New York Islanders select John Tavares.
Did you see Marner look at Willie afterwards too? He's like, I'm sorry, I probably could have passed it to you too, but that guy's got a C on his jersey.
They even mentioned on the broadcast, he like went over to him. He's like, dude, sorry, I know.
Yeah,
That's
happened
great.
so perfectly. And man, Nylander was hungry tonight. I found that he seriously took it up a notch,
He
and
was a beast.
lots of good sticks. Like Kerfoot, that stick that broke up a pass in the Leafs D zone that sent Nylander flying up the ice the first time out of several attempts tonight. Man, Korpisalo, if it wasn't for Korpisalo, you're right, this game would be 5 or 7-0. Like just the chances that the Leafs had on the breakaway attempts.
Yeah, Willie's breakaways. Oh man, I can't believe him and Engvall didn't put either of those in. That was.
Do you feel
when
like
the goalie's on like
Nylander's
that?
putting his big boy pants on lately? Like he seems like a much mature player. If plays aren't going his way, he's not so down on himself, and he's always coming back harder the next shift. But whole game, like he was a two-way game. I thought he was probably the most impressive player tonight.
Well, and the speed too. I've noticed this year he's really turned into somebody that like will see a puck trickling away from somebody and just turn the gas on instead of like, that's a little far away, like most players do. Like
Yeah.
he's turned
Mhm.
from what everyone thought he was, a lazy player, into, oh shit, I can beat everybody to that puck because no one's skating hard for it. They're just, lackadaisically working their way
100%.
back.
And like he'll never be the most physical player, so people will always bitch and whine about this. But like the way he's forechecking and backchecking is so much smarter than he used to do. It's the maturity in his game is tenfold this season.
Agreed. Also,
Totally agree.
Sandman's massive hit in the first period. Oh my god, just lays Johnson out. Oof. Right at the blue line, absolutely demolishes him. And was it Sillinger comes over and tries to fight him?
He's not fighting you.
Starts chopping at Sandy, and even the commentators were like, yeah, I mean, when you're in last place, that's what you do. But there's no reason for Sandy to take this fight.
Yeah, Johnson,
kidding.
his glove going flying through the air, Sandy in
Wendell
both
Clark.
feet planted. Yeah, and Marty even posted on Twitter saying, Leafs Nation bitching and whining, crying for a hard, heavy defender. Look what we have, guys. He leads the team in hits. Lily's not afraid to hit. Hall has definitely thrown out his weight around several times. Like, we have our bottom six who are heavy. I don't know what else you can be asking for at this point. Like, we have heavy hitters who are not eligible to play with our elite current roster, aka Kyle Clifford and Wayne Simmons on a regular basis. You know what I mean? So, it's so
No,
nice
like
to have someone doing it.
Sandin's such like
Especially
a
with
sneaky big hitter too. Like once every 3 or 4 games, he lays someone out like that too. So like I can snipe, he can do everything. I feel like he's really starting to come in his own lately, and it's really, really fun to watch.
Yeah. And someone in the first period that definitely impressed me was Alex Steves after being called
Yes.
up for the first time this season.
yeah,
Played
baby.
3 games last season, and tonight, wow, he was all over the place. I mean, he had a chance off of Holmberg's feed. He jumped on a loose puck, and each time it was just going over the net. But I just want to see his ice. He only played 10:06, and honestly, I noticed Steve's way more than like Patrick Laine tonight.
Yeah, and I feel like the best thing about him too is like you never really notice him in his own end because he was always very responsible. He would like step up when he had to on the offensive zone, but for 10 minutes, I thought he played like a really responsive game, and he was like a trusted guy out there. It was nice to see for a rookie.
Yeah, definitely. And it's nice to see that this rotational couple of positions in our bottom six, like we're seeing who has the dog in them and who doesn't, pretty much. And whoever does, they get a chance to stay up, especially if there's injury. And whoever doesn't, too bad, so sad. And a good example is Holmberg, who, could have been one of those guys who played
Yeah.
3 games max and then got sent back down to the Marlies. But now he's played 30 plus games for the Leafs, and it's been working out so well.
Well, let's be
And
real. Like with Matthews out of the lineup right now, that changes the complexion of this team completely. They have to be a full 4-line team, and that's what they're really turning into right now. So every night they got 4 lines going. Everyone knows responsibilities, and it's kind of cool to see like who's falling into what plays. So
Mhm.
yeah, my kudos are down for like the bottom 6 for sure.
And the other one that was called up tonight was Joseph Wall. And that is because Matt Murray, even though we speculated last episode that he was going to be back, it seemed like everything was going well with his ankle. We now hear from Dubas that it's going to be a couple weeks, and they place Matt Murray on LTIR. Or not LTIR, but IR. So, yikes. First of all, that's not a good sign. Second, I just want to give kudos to Steph for calling that Samsonov was going to be the starter. I think that's what it's shaping out to be.
There's
Hooray.
still
We'll
time
get
on
to looking for goalies, but in that conversation with the deadline later. But what do you make currently of the situation we've got? How confident are you with potentially seeing Joseph Wall play some of these games? Potentially even tomorrow he's playing.
I mean, go ahead, Seth.
So that just brings us to a question, actually. Cap at cap_Canuck62 asks, should Sammy get the start tomorrow, even though they said Wall is to play?
No,
No.
no,
Yeah,
absolutely not.
totally agree. Yeah, it's Wall's turn to shine. I think the brick wall. He played for us previously, and went super well. And the only reason why Shalgren was in before him this season was due to injury.
Yes,
So coming off, a 13-1-0 season, 930 on the year, all-star in the
best in the
AHL for
HL,
right.
best in the HL.
The best. Why not? Saturday night hockey, hockey night in Canada. Put Joseph Wall in.
Not to
Yeah,
mention, like, he's a
honestly-
couple years older than when he used to be here, right? Like, this guy's put in his time. He's got the reps in. This is a perfect opportunity for him to step up and show that he is an NHL quality goaltender, even if a backup at this point, right? Give him the start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to tire Sammy out or potentially injure him in back-to-back against the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Amen
Like,
to that, yes.
The guy just earned himself a rest with a shutout against a bad team. He stopped 30 some odd shots when he didn't really need to. Made a bunch of fantastic saves. Give him a day off. Jeez.
Yeah. All I gotta say though, if those 2 goals didn't come quickly in that third period, I would have been super nervous because it could have been anyone's game off a bad bounce or a stupid call. So I'm so glad something went in because the second period alone, there were a lot of good chances. Even Liljegren dipsy doodling from literally center ice between both teams, something
Yeah.
that just completely shocked me, the commentators, everyone who was watching. It seemed, I'm like, oh, that's Liljegren. Okay, like if these guys can find this type of confidence to play like against these teams and bring that towards playoff level teams, just imagine the success. Because even the backhand pass from Marner or like Pierre
Oh, so
Engvall's giraffe
gross.
roar, the confidence. Oh,
The David Kampf fitness.
the comp.
And not to
Yes.
mention, Nylander missed 2 breakaways too, right? So that takes a lot of pressure off Sammy. When, like you said, you scored the second and the third goal eventually. He was holding them in, but like you needed to get that extra insurance goal.
Oh man, those empty nets, Marner and Bunting, those hurt so much.
Oh,
Like
10
it was
seconds
like-
apart.
it was like when your controller's like you hit the wrong thing and you hit pass instead. You're like, no, I'm hitting shoot. What? No. Oh my gosh.
Your controller's drifting. You're like, oh, god damn it. That's exactly what happened. It went
so
from one
hard.
circle to the other one.
I
But
mean,
it was
something's
that
gotta
type of night
happen.
for the Leafs. Like I felt like they were in control, kind of like that all night, and it didn't really feel like Columbus was going to take it. So I'm glad that obviously Toronto got that go ahead too really quick, because otherwise that would have been like a loss from years from the past, and that's not what this team is all about this year.
oh my god, the shots on goal tonight. First period, this is for Columbus, 6. Second period, 15. Third period, 9.
Yeah.
There was
And
a-
like
there
the
was a
15
little
in the
bit of a
second
time.
were a lot from the outside. I felt Toronto really did a good job of keeping everyone to the outside. When Sandin took that 4-minute penalty, they only had 2 shots against, and everything was from the perimeter. So I feel like their
Yeah.
defensive game today was pretty sharp.
Double tampon up the nose.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's hard to play with.
Up a single nostril, guys, not both. Singular nostril, double. Whoa, that's a heavy flow.
You know what could have saved him is a certain person's specially made visor and cage mask.
Yes.
Oh my god! Why do we not have a picture of this thing tonight?
Here,
Beaner,
I'm gonna send it to myself so I can pull it up on screen.
Beaner is going to be being chirped for the rest of his career playing with this thing. If I
Beaner
saw-
has.
No.
Go ahead.
If I saw someone on their team wearing that thing, it would be a relentless chirp. Everyone would be in on this. This guy would never wear it again afterwards.
Here, 2 seconds. I got it here.
Oh man, this is a beauty. Beater with the customization for his helmet and has a whole story I'm sure he will share, but Roscoe will share a pic to our viewers. It is truly one of a kind.
So if
Oh,
anybody's watching,
God.
baby.
you can see this thing. It's interesting for sure. So you get a regular-ish CCM helmet with a visor, and then off of the bottom of the visor is an entire what I can only describe as like a beard net, but made into a cage to protect your chin. And
Unless if you have a broken jaw or you're Hannibal Lecter, there's no way you should be wearing this fucking thing.
This is a Johnny Bravo helmet for the ultimate jawline that just sticks right out.
But
And yeah,
Oh
I
my god,
respect
that's
his
amazing.
reasoning for it. He says, I'm not quite good enough to go with the half visor, and dental work is expensive. So, yeah,
That is-
yes,
it plays.
dental work is expensive. Oh,
God.
man, I don't blame you, Bean, but love that. And yeah, we'll hopefully
I
share
love
on
you, Bean,
Twitter.
but I would chirp the shit out of you every fucking game.
Yes.
And if you
but-
did, you might get a 10-minute misconduct for offensive language like Boone Jenner did tonight. What happened there?
He must have
abusive
said some
language
shit.
penalty.
Yeah, what did we do? We know what he said?
No.
No,
Are we
it was
gonna know
never
what he
said.
said? Do we think this is something towards an official, or do you think he said something like
I
offensive?
feel like it had to have been towards the official, and it had to be pretty vulgar too, because they put up with a lot of stuff, and if he kicked him out of the game, then there's a pretty good chance it was warranted.
Yeah, I want to find that clip and see if we can
Chomboy.
read his lips. Yeah, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm really interested because, like you said, Suthy, it must be serious. It's very rare to see these types of calls, right? 10-minute misconduct for language. So if it was something, a slur of some sort, I'm sure we would have heard it
Yeah.
already. But since, I don't know, maybe it was directly.
Oh,
don't know.
I think he probably dug pretty hard into that ref, and he was like, "There's no fucking way you're getting away with this tonight."
Yeah.
And that was it for him. And
Yeah.
that was it for the Blue Jackets. And we'll do it all
was.
again tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Do you think they make any, like, is there any adjustment you can make? Like, is Elvis hurt, or did they just play Eunice tonight? Because it didn't look like he was when I was going through the list, but I know he's been on and off all season. So I don't know if they're just kind of like, he's not hurt, just so they don't have to call somebody else up. Like, he's just sitting on a bench.
I know that they've been through a carousel goalies recently. What was that name? Katsov or something? Karatsov or it was a goalie. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, but interesting to see if they do make any lineup changes. Even for the Leafs, right? Do you reward Steves again and keep them in, and
Yeah.
Joey Anderson, or do we see Connor Timmins come out after getting his contract extension? Because he didn't play tonight, and I thought the Leafs D were pretty good. I mean, there obviously was some stumbles, and even Marner at one point, Riley had to bail him out on a 2-on-1 off the power play, I believe. But it seemed like they had each other's backs, and we still saw the expertness from Gio, in the third period.
Letting that icing go.
Yes,
That was
zigzagging a
awesome.
little. And
Oh no, I'm not
getting
gonna
moved
make
off.
it. It's
I feel like
rolling
the
all the way to the red
discrepancy
line.
between these two teams right now is negligible. So if Columbus is going to make a change, it's really not going to make a difference. If Toronto comes and even brings their like B+ game, they should win this.
So if we see hopefully Timmins and Joseph Wall in, other than that, I would say everything kind of stays the same. But yeah,
I
we
would
haven't
think
talked
so.
about that. Connor Timmins gets 2 times 1.1. I like the deal. What do you guys think?
I think it's great. Even though it's a small sample size, I mean, before this season, we're always desperate for right-handed defenders. It seemed like a dime a dozen, and Justin Hall was our only hero on the right side. But we were at a point in the season where we had too many righties and not enough lefties. But I think we're back to the right-handed scenario once everyone is healthy and, we're not playing off our 12th string defender. But yeah, it's great. Offense that we want. The big clapper from the point. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a previous Sioux. What's there not to love?
I mean, like
So-
for that salary, for what he brings on the right side too, he's going to play 6 to 4, right? So that's a great signing. I think it's a great depth signing, and it adds a little insurance to the boys going forward.
So, Andrew, do you think that means that pending UFA Justin Hall is on the move come deadline?
I mean, front office always seems to be very infatuated with this guy. He's a great penalty kill player. He's going to do a bonehead play once every 2-3 games. I think he's a great depth defender. You'll probably play on your bottom 6 on any other team. But to answer your question, yeah, I guess if the move is right, you're going to package him, right? But if not, I see him staying on the roster.
Because if you sign Timmins now at 2 times 1.1, Justin Hall currently makes $2 million. You can't pay him. You can't. I mean, how much more than $2 million can you give him with what you just gave Timmins?
What
to
you're
fill
going to
that
do
spot?
is you're going to let him walk at the end of the season. You're either going to trade him or you're going to let him walk. You're not going to re-sign him, I don't think.
So that's kind of what I was getting at. Is I think in signing Timmins here, they've kind of sealed the fate of Justin Hall, which is something that I didn't think we would see happen. Not that I didn't think they would sign Timmins, but looking at the way that their cap friendly shakes out here, Justin Hall and Jordy Ben are the only ones that are not signed after this season. So
yeah,
to renegotiate with Justin Hall after $2 million is going to be hard. It's going to go to arbitration. Jordy Ben, I can see sticking around at League Min if he wants to play another year, but
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
We're going to see what happens with Muzzin too, right? That's a huge question mark. Is this guy ever going to play again?
Well, the last report I saw from the other day was that it doesn't seem likely, but they're not closing the book on it yet. But
I feel like we're leaning towards he's not coming back, right?
Yeah,
and it probably is a move that Dubas is going to anticipate, I think.
Yeah. He's still super close with the team. I mean, he traveled with Mitch on their little vacation, doing shots on a yacht, and
then have him be a cheerleader on the team. But I don't ever see him manning the blue line again.
Yeah, exactly. Keep him in house, and maybe if he's done with hockey, keep him some way, like kind of like Spezza, but maybe not as deep like that. But yeah, and it's up to him, right? Or maybe he wants to go back to California and watch his family grow from there. Who knows?
But to fully answer Johnny's question, I think if they have a move to bring another defenseman, Hall is going to be the guy who's out.
Yeah.
So that kind of ties into questions internally here from our Inside the Rink Leafs family. Mikey D and Josh Anselmo, shout out, asking, what does Dubas's contract extension look like, and when do you think it'll be signed? And to build off of that, current Leafs goaltending depth and a potential ad ?
So to add to that, Cali Cartel on our Discord also asked, can we sign Sammy to an extension now if we're touching on goalies?
It seems like this is the week of signings, whether it's for the sake of trading people or just because the value they don't want the value to be set for these guys after the deadline, and then they ask for more money, which I also get.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe
you are in that sweet spot right now.
Yeah,
I love
the 1 year prove it to me deal from Samsonov, and clearly it's been working out well. I think Dubas is trying to wait until after playoffs. Like, what if the top 6 choke again, or Bunting is completely a ghost, or the beginning of the season it didn't work out too much and they're kind of waiting for more consistency for like a guy like Bunting?
Here's why it's tough for the Leafs to make any significant signings right now. Anything above Connor Timmins for $1 million is one thing, but when you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 players in your starting roster whose contracts are all up after this year, that's a big question mark on what your spend for next year has to be or can be or should be.
Yes.
So if you this early hand something out, you're handcuffing yourself to, potentially not being able to sign somebody in the off season when, somebody becomes available because you spend too much trying to keep the guys that you already have.
Yeah. And like the question pertaining to Samsonov, if he's willing to take like a 2 or 3 year deal after this, I think you do it for anywhere between $2 to $3.5 million. It makes a lot of sense, even up to $4 million. But man, that's a tough one to sign him long term right now. He hasn't played too many games. He was never meant to be your starter this season. He's only doing this right now because Murray is out.
The other thing that I've noticed with the league right now is the goalies have become a bit of a musical chairs, and whether
Yes.
they perform well one year doesn't necessarily mean they're going to perform well the next year. So I kind of don't mind this trying out whoever every other year, kind of like if they sign Sammy for a year or two and then it's, look, we just went through so many
Then you
goalies over
blonde.
the last little while. Like they go hot and cold, and now look at what Freddie Anderson is doing on Carolina. Like, it's completely random when these guys are going to have a good season. So I think to keep your options open is a good thing. The fact that Murray has so much retained, and he's only signed, he got till end of next year.
Yes.
And Sammy, I don't know. I would give him something like
Sammy's
$3 million
young, though,
for
and,
2
like,
years.
He's got a lot of upside, so I wouldn't be opposed to giving him like a mid type of contract for maybe not a long term. But the question
Like,
on
I don't
Dubas,
hate 2 or
we'll
3.
touch that after, but I got some thoughts on that.
I don't hate 2 or 3 years for Sammy.
No.
But the problem is then, like, are you, like I said before, you got to re-sign Kerfoot, maybe. You got to re-sign Engvall, maybe. And Kampf and Bunting. And, there's all these guys whose contracts are up. And it's just going to be questions of.
You also
whether you
have
move
like
on
the
or keep
internal
him.
politics. Is Sammy going to be your number one guy, which he's kind of vying for right now, too? So there's always going to be that backdoor type of politics that you're not really seeing, right? I'm sure he wants to play a lot more games than he is right now.
And you have to ask management to sign off on paying a goalie when you've got $4.7 million wrapped up in another one next year. So it's
Exactly.
Why are we going to spending $8 million on goalies or $9 million
Maybe because he's
on
on
goalies?
the shelf all the time and you have no other choice.
Yeah, well, they kind of knew
Yeah.
that going into this. It was just kind of a hopeful thinking.
On the Dubas question, this is very interesting to me because the Toronto Maple Leafs, they make more money than any other team in the league, right? We can't spend it on players, but they sure as hell can spend it on coaches. They can spend it on GMs. They can spend it on training staff. And that's where they really, really should be taking advantage of everything. So if you think Dubas is your guy, sign him to an exorbitant amount of money. If you think someone else is your guy, steal him for an exorbitant amount of money. And that's something Toronto really hasn't been doing lately that I think they should be looking into more.
Fun fact, the last time they did that, do you know what Kyle Dubas' first trade was as part of the Toronto Maple Leafs?
No.
It was acquiring Mike Babcock from the Detroit Red Wings, because there was no head coach and no general manager. So that left Dubas and what's the other AGM, and Tim Lewicki, who was in charge at the time of MLSE.
Was Hunter?
Yeah, Mark Hunter.
Yes.
And so they were basically the entire Leafs front office, and they traded the Detroit Red Wings a conditional draft pick and something else for Mike Babcock.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy, but they have more money than any other team here. They should be spending it and luring away anybody they want. So if they think Dubas is the guy, lock him up. But if not, if they think Yzerman is whoever the guy, like, steal him and pay him 10 times more than any other team will pay. Because you can do that. If we had no salary cap, we'd be doing it with players.
Exactly. If they can and they want Dubas, like if he's the guy that they want to lock down, give him, 8, 9, 10 million a year for 10 years, like whatever the hell he wants.
MLSE is paying Masai right now $15 million a year. Granted, he's also like the president of basketball operations, but still he's tentatively like their GM.
What does Shanahan make? Do we know?
No one knows these things. It's very, very hidden.
Okay. So, I mean, they could pay him a lot. Like you said, maybe not Masai Ujiri money because he's not the president, but they could pay him a lot of money, like upwards of what what Matthews is making. So when that happens, I guess the question is whether it's dependent on the deadline or the playoff performance. Like,
It's
how
going to
much
be
does
based on playoff
MLS
performance. They're not going to do this before the end of the playoffs, I don't think.
do you
There's
think?
no chance, I don't think.
But do you think if they don't make it out of the first round, they just don't re-sign Dubas? Because I find that hard to believe. As much as I'm
So
like,
do
well,
I.
how can they make a decision before the playoffs? But again, what do the playoffs have to do with it? Like, I think they're more going to judge like if it's tough because it'll be how they lose. Like, did you put a team together and they blew it? Like, was it on them or is it on you?
I feel like Shanahan believes in what Dubas is doing enough that he probably told him, like, I can't sign you before the playoffs end, but, depending how this goes, you're my guy type of thing. There's always a little slight chance that he'll veer off course and sign someone else, but I feel like Dubas is the guy here. His
I feel
track
like the
record
only
is
way
pretty fucking good.
I feel like the only way that they don't re-sign him is if he swings for somebody like Timo Meyer, doesn't get him, it's made public somehow, like what happened with that Chicago trade, that he tried and didn't get it, and then the team that does get him ends up winning the cup. Like some scenario like that where he blew it and that player was the game changer. That's
Yeah.
the only way that I can see them being like, well, you screwed up. Otherwise,
Yeah,
it's so
like
hard to equate their performance.
if he loses a couple more first rounds and like nines or something like that, then for sure. But
Yeah,
I don't like. I have a hard time envisioning the Toronto Maple Leafs going to the next season without Kyle Dubas.
yeah. I think you're right. The other side of that is if he spends an arm and a leg on somebody who's useless, and Nick Foligno's again, which again I also find hard to believe. I think he's learned his lesson there.
But given the track record here, I don't feel like we need to do that, right? Like we're pretty stocked on the forward. Our back end is as good as it's ever been. Our goaltending obviously has a little question mark right now with Murray injured, but I don't feel like he has that type of room to really fuck things up too much.
The only thing they mentioned it in the broadcast, the only thing that I would agree with is that if they bring somebody like middle six, like second or third line, that's able to just push some of those guys that are working so well in the third line down to become a really good fourth line, because I think the fourth is where they've been like, I don't know, we'll see, whatever works. So if they can bring somebody effective in that just allows them to spread everyone out a little more, I think that would be the most impactful. Like, I don't think it's any single player. I think it's just being able to spread everyone out a little more efficiently than they are currently.
True.
They seem a
And
little short-staffed.
I feel like there's one player who they can maybe go like quote unquote all in for, and that's Ryan O'Reilly.
And do you make him your
He is injured, but he's
center?
coming back in like a month or so. But he's that type of player who can push you over the top. For anyone else, I have a really hard time seeing like you said, Timo Meyer. No way I would give that type of capital for him.
The thing with O'Reilly is, do you make him the second line center and push JT to the wing, or do you make him the third line center? Like, where do you fit him in? That's what I find hard with him. As much as I agree that he's a fantastic playoff performer,
it's a fluid thing. He goes between second line winger and third line center, I think.
Yeah, kind of like a Kerfoot, but better.
But way better, yeah.
Yeah.
After losing Tarasenko, I don't see it happening. I don't know.
No?
But I also said the same thing in the beginning of the season. Meyer being their best player, why would they want to get rid of him? They can't sign it. I get it. But Dubas, like, I wish he would just make the big move. And I know they did previously with JT, but it's time. And this is the last year. And I mean, the Leafs, we're talking like the Leafs need a miracle to go far in this playoff series coming up. We're doing very well. It's just
Yes.
like
Good point.
where are the holes? Or do we add a goalie, or do we trust the farm to back up just in case Sammy goes down? Like, I think our defensive core is great, but
too.
watching tonight, the only thing going through my mind every time I heard Gavrikov's name, I'm like, wow, you're fighting your future team right now, because I have a feeling he will be a Leaf soon.
But
And like
he's like
every time, I don't know, every time he was in a little scrap, and like I'm like, damn, you're gonna be playing with him soon.
Granted, I think he's a better player on a better team, and he probably will be like your fourth to sixth defenseman. But someone like O'Reilly, if Marner goes out, if Nylander goes out, if Matthews goes out, or JT goes out, that can fill that spot up right away. So to me, that makes a lot more sense. But I completely agree with you saying about that Columbus player because that guy's a nasty guy.
Yeah. Defender. This is the grit that
Staying
people have
home.
been whining about.
Yeah.
But top six winger, push down someone to the bottom six and make it like a, 2-line 1-2 punch, and then the bottom two 1-2 punch, in a sense, like a first line and a third line combination.
Yeah.
And but it's like, how will he do it? And will he wait too long? Because even with Patrick Kane and Tarasenko, straight up, the Rangers organization said that the ball was in Patrick Kane's park and they didn't want to wait. And they also were worried about his hip injury.
I feel
And
like those
also he
guys
was
do
expensive.
nothing for Toronto, though. Like, they're the exact same player as Marner is. They're great on the wing. At least someone like O'Reilly, he's going to bring you something on any position he goes. He brings you a lot more than those players, right? But
Yeah,
the
that's
cost
the
is
thing
going to
with
be
Kane. We don't need another
astronomical. Like,
right
it's
wing.
going to be fucking ridiculous to buy him.
So just to compare here, so we haven't talked about this one. Vlad Tarasenko goes to the Rangers in exchange for Sammy Blais, who, funny enough, actually came from St. Louis in the first place in the
Yes.
What's his name?
Reeves.
No.
Reeves
Yeah,
and
Was it
Blais.
not?
Reeves. Oh, and Buchnevich.
Yep.
That's the name I was thinking of.
Booch.
Hunter Skinner, a conditional first and a conditional fourth for Tarasenko. So that's a serviceable NHLer, as there always is, a prospect, and a first and a fourth for 50% retained Vlad Tarasenko. So that's, I mean,
$4
really 3.75. Like, that's nutso. And when everyone's talking about, oh, the Leafs don't have cap space, they can't afford this, nobody, like, he can't do anything. This is like, you can pay to retain 50%. Like, if you do that, the Leafs options really open up. It's just how much you willing to spend to bring somebody in.
It's tough. It's
Because that's
why
the market
It's
there.
an interesting
It's
thing
somebody.
to watch Dubas too, because he's obviously a lame duck GM right now, like quote unquote, as he's been for a little while. But this is his year. If he doesn't make it, then he must feel like he's on the chopping block. So it's very interesting to see if he's actually going to pull a trigger on a much bigger move than he has in the past.
Yeah, I was going through his trade history since he joined the Leafs, and there's never been anything massive, but it's always been things that are what the team needs, right?
Yeah.
That's always been his mantra. So it's, I'm not going to spend an arm and a leg to get the thing that everybody wants just because everybody's talking about it. And as GMs, we all agree that, you know, the Timo Meier is out there, but he's going to bring in people, like I was saying on Twitter, people that are signed to contracts already for beyond this year.
Term.
Yeah, because we saw his media availability yesterday, and he said that most likely the idea of spending prospects and picks on a rental for the rest of this year is kind of insane. So he's looking more to bring somebody in who's signed, and I think that's great. That's what the Leafs need, especially with the amount of contracts that are expiring. Like, I would rather bring someone in who's effective than try to figure out if we're, you know, like I said, re-signing one of Zach Aston Reese, Wayne Simmons, and like Pierre Engvall and Kerfoot. So, you know,
I think it's admirable that he does that, especially as a GM who's like, his contract's coming up this year, but it might be time to pull a trigger on something that's going to get you over the top this time.
Yeah.
Because it's like the moves he's doing, they're great. They're adding term to everything, like you just said, but they're not quite pushing the needle like too much, right? And I feel this year they really need to do that.
So how realistic do you think the Chychrun rumors are?
I don't see him pushing as much as like a forward does.
Yeah, you think? Guys? I mean, I think we've got, like I said, bringing in a forward, I'd rather like a second line or third line person who's going to allow them to spread out. If it's a defender, it's got to be like first pair. So
exactly. Do you think just don't see the first pair defenseman? I
think between him, Riley, and Brody, and you know, Sandin and Liljegren, you've kind of got a bunch of combinations of first and second line pairs you can throw out there. I think the price is going to be high because of the bidding war on him. You know, any of these guys that are mentioned the most, I just worry about the auction that's going to happen for them.
Yep,
That's all.
it's gonna be high, and
And like Chitrin's a little redundant with Riley and what Sandine can do too. So he's not really bringing anything to the table that these guys aren't doing compared to like if you had like a stud defenseman type of thing. But I don't know. It's gonna be interesting.
Oh, this just in. Leaf Sing wants one of our Yeti tumblers with Leaf Sing on it.
nice.
Talk to Beaner.
Yeah. But how good does William Manlander, as Chris Hurley put it tonight in our questions, his question was literally, William Manlander? Yes, because I totally agree with your tweet from earlier, Chris. He put it out there that this year he just is going from boy to
Yeah.
man sort of thing, and for 6.9 mil, yeah, we'll take that any day of the week,
We are
especially
watching.
after especially after you see, you know, low tier defenders getting around 5 mil nowadays. That definitely helps our situation coming up. But hey, next, like, his contract's coming soon too, and Maddie, like, that's gonna be the 1-2 punch of next year that needs to be dealt with. So
That's what
whatever
I'm saying.
Dibs,
This window right now is so important. Like it's fucking huge.
Yeah.
And to
I guess-
Nylander point, yeah, this guy is putting on his big points. He's growing up. His maturity is going through the roof. His two-way game is unbelievable. Love to see him doing this right now. But he's going to demand a ton of money on his next contract.
And I
Yeah.
guess that's something to consider with extending Dubas or not, is with these contract extensions coming up for the big guys, do you want the same person that they dealt with last time to negotiate this contract? Or do you want somebody who can come in fresh and lay down the law with these guys and make sure that they don't rob MLSE and you know, handcuff the team for the next 10 years? That's something that I think is the most, I didn't even consider that until now. I think that's going to play in a little more than people realize to whether they extend Dubas or not. Because, yeah, it's nice that things have worked out up until now, but the biggest holes are coming up end of 2024-25 with signing Nylander, and end of 23-24 with signing Nylander, and end of 24-25 with JT and Marner.
I
And
kind of
Matthews.
feel like saying yes because you want to know like the devil you're going with, right? He took Nylander down to the wire. Nylander probably could have got 8.5, but he signed for what he did. Going forward, I think Nylander will respect that a little bit. And if you have a new first-time GM, it can just get so messy. The variables just, I don't know, they expand exponentially, right?
And Sandine too. He played him really well and ended up taking exactly what he was offered in the first place. They didn't give on
Exactly.
him. So, you know, maybe
It'll-
maybe he's grown since those first contract negotiations with the core four, and maybe things will go a bit
But
different
if you
next
look
time.
back, like they're not terrible contracts, right? Like he could have paid way more for them.
They, I know,
And let me preface this by saying
It's
the
Brad
cap should be
Marchand getting
going
in
up
my
a lot
head.
more.
it's Brad Marchand getting in my head. Okay, about all those guys taking 7 mil so they could win. But no, you're right. It's something that we forget about a lot. Is
Fuck
that the
Marchand.
cap was supposed to be, you know, a couple, probably 8 million higher right now
Yes,
than it is right
it
now.
was.
So that's
What do you
that's
think,
always
Steph?
going to be there.
Brad Marchand also was an elite superstar right off in the beginning of his career. He only broke out in the last little bit before signing that
Exactly.
contract and acting like he's been this elite superstar for his whole life. This fucking rat. Shut up.
He knew what he was saying.
If he were in a contract year, he'd be demanding like 11 or 12.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Like
you know.
Pasta's going to.
Oh, yes. And as he should, right? And Nylander now, last time they told him, you know, you got to give us something and meet us in the middle. Nylander's going to come back and say, hey, look at me now. What else do I need to do, sort of thing. And I still believe if Matthews stays, Nylander will stay. If Matthews leaves, I think Nylander will also test the market. I think they're a pair, and yeah, gotta save. And it
Great point.
really depends, like the philosophy of the GM. Do we stick with the core philosophy of paying them and then hoping that the bottom of the barrel will break through. I think Shanahan needs to see success in that aspect in the playoffs this year for that to continue. If not,
Yeah.
we may get a new GM with the complete different philosophy, right? Let's not bring whoever back and split it up a little. Like, who knows? That we're only rotating between a handful of dinosaurs. So
I really hate saying it, but yeah, so much depends on what happens in this playoffs.
yeah.
Always. Last little question here we can close off with. This is from Prague Arya. This, if I'm going after a Columbus defenseman, Andrew Peak over Gavrikov, age, handiness, good skater, defensively good, and cheap / long-term contract. Steph, defend Gavrikov over Andrew Peak.
You know, if we're talking fantasy terms, Peak is a great pickup for categories. I don't follow the Jackets too closely, but all I know is that Gavrikov was all over the ice tonight. Peaky was, he was a -2, 2 shots, 1 hit, 3 blocks. Gavrikov similar, -2, 2, 1, and 4. Like, I don't really have a difference of opinion between the two. I just know that they're both hard hitting. Honestly, I could see Dubas bringing in either or at this point, depending on who makes the least amount. So,
Oh, these poor Columbus Blue Jackets. Andrew Peak, 164 NHL games played, 29 total points, 8 goals, 21 assists, -32 on his career.
Mm-hmm.
nice.
Nice. But he does make 2.75 up until the end of 2026.
I
Which
feel
is
like
only
the
a
lesser
3-year
option's
contract.
not too bad because he's a pretty good player on a bad team. And I think he's the type of player, if you put him on a better team, he's going to excel a lot more. And his value is, it's hard to argue with that.
He makes $50,000 more than Gavrikov.
Who's only a -6 in comparison, 10 points in 50 games.
Oh, he's a -21 on a career, though, which is what I was listing for Peak.
Oh,
That's,
sorry.
I'm just saying, like, the Columbus Blue Jackets have sucked so bad for the last
I
couple of
see.
years that, like, all these guys that just came up with this team are, like,
All
so
their
bad.
stats, it's
You
so
can't
hard
tell
to,
how...
like...
Yeah, you can't tell. So
It's hard on
2.8 up until the end of the year. Gavrikov's on an
Mhm.
expiring deal. That's the thing that kind of worries me about bringing him in.
It's a whole rental thing again, right?
Yeah. Peak, you get a couple years. Again, I wasn't really looking at Columbus, so I don't have a huge opinion on it. But
I wouldn't be surprised if they're selling for a rebuild, right? Now they have their main fixture alongside Line A and company. So I don't know.
Yeah,
You
they
gotta
want to
fill in the
tank for
holes.
Bedard too.
Yeah.
They're right in
I'm
that
sure.
prime spot for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be between them and Chicago and who else is down there? Arizona and
Montreal's down there.
Montreal. It's going to be probably between the four of them for first.
All I gotta say though, I saw this tweet out there that Lou Lamoriello paid Nikita Zaitsev $200,000 less per year than Kyle Dubas currently pays Rasmus Sandin, Mark Giordano, Timothy Littlegren, and Connor Timmins.
Oh my god!
Boom!
Oh my god! And the Sens are still paying that contract.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
all of it.
Yep.
Did Dubas get rid of that one?
Listen here, Dubas is a pretty fucking good GM, all right, guys?
I'm pretty sure he got rid of that entire contract.
I think so, because that was when Connor Brown and Nikita Zaitsev and that whole Ottawa Sens blockbuster
JD Smith
happened.
went over there too. And...
Yes.
Yeah, Leafs traded Nikita Zaitsev, Connor Brown, and Michael Carson to Ottawa in exchange for Cody Ceci, Ben Harper, Aaron Luchuk, and a 2020 third-round pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's working out, guys. Honestly, I have hope in this team, even though we've been through a carousel ride of fixtures this year. I think it's working for the better.
Guess who that 2020 third-round pick was?
Who was it?
Topi Niemela.
Oh,
not bad.
Nice. Worked out. Yeah, and I know there's been mistakes along the way, but we're freaking human, okay? And if you look at it from a broad perspective, the stats, like,
But
I don't know, we're in
they
it to
haven't
win
been like
it.
handcuffing ones, right? Like Matthews and Marner, they obviously got what they got. He got a great deal with Nylander. The Tavares, you had to overpay him to bring him home.
Yeah.
I don't see like any huge faults in what he has been doing.
And our captain got 2 goals tonight. Our backup goalie with his 9th career shutout, 3rd this year. Marner just adding to his fucking apple collection because he
Yarn
already
crook.
broke a record for the All-Stars of, his apple orchard. Another 2 tonight. 8 goals, 13 assists in the last 18 games for JT. I mean, if they can just continue the momentum with this confidence, especially the bottom 6 and the giraffe. We need a giraffe roar, Johnny. Thank you. Because I love it when Pierre Engvall scores and he unleashes the beast and just and I'm
Me
like,
too.
yes,
I usually
get it,
hate
girl. Yes. Just and Kampf just lights that fucking fire and they just I don't know, it's great. Holmberg, love Holmberg. My point is the rotation is working.
I like the
It's
depth
nice
this year.
yeah, and it's nice to see guys like Steves and even McMahon. He was a nice surprise, right? Like just bringing that energy to the bottom 6 and driving the net. And if you look at the Marlies lineup, they look solid. Like for an
Yeah.
AHL team, anyone could be ready. It seems,
And
and
like, let's see what Wall does
hopefully,
next game too, right?
yeah. I think the next guy up, though, even though it was Steve's today, I really do think Adam Gaudette needs a turn soon. Just welcome back into the NHL if he's eligible and go from there.
I feel
Okay,
like worth
sorry.
mentioning
I've
is
just been
Robertson, who is not in this conversation right now too because of injury. Like this guy would have been a game changer.
sorry, I was reading through this entire stupid trade. So the Leafs, with that trade, they got that 3rd round pick. Dubas traded it back to Ottawa. He traded down. Okay. He had the 44th pick and he traded it down for a 2nd and 3rd. And he got Ronnie Hirvonen and Topi Niemela with those 2 picks.
Nice. He's good at trading down and doing all
We,
that, eh?
He traded Ottawa for their own 3rd round pick from the Islanders or some shit from the Pajot trade, and then traded it back to Ottawa for 2 picks. Like, he just is so mean to the Sens.
Even in this past draft, and when acquiring Dennis Hill to be there, I'm looking at it now. Trading down and getting that pick and thinking about our goalie depth, right? Dennis Hill to be supposed and like right after the draft, signing him to an entry level contract just in case. I don't know.
I'm still waiting on
9D
Akhtiamov.
chess.
But yeah, there's a lot of guys that I think you can afford to maybe send someone out at the deadline just because we have so much, but it's also hard to move draft capital out. Like, he's done such a good job of drafting over the last few years, and we've heard so much about these guys. I don't want to see them bloom on another team because we wanted to, get that one extra guy or, But I don't know. Do we? I also want to fucking win. So
yeah. That's why I'm hungry for a big trade, right? We've been saying this whole season, too many clowns in the clown car. We're literally at our cap roster space all year long or playing with one slot here and there. Make the big trade, send a couple pieces there, get one good one or a couple good ones back and just fucking do it. Hi, Darty.
Started at 1 hour, 8 minutes.
You entered at the right time.
You're a fucking beauty, Darty.
okay,
Yes.
so since you're here, I'm gonna do a video to end us out here, and Darty, we can talk about this one quick.
To play us out. What does it mean to play us out?
Look at this nice break and a little love tap on the 10-pin. Chris Vige is feeding it out to that 4-5 board down lane. And look at this pin action. Oh.
Chupapi Miñeño.
So, Darty, what do you think of that little bowling highlight there?
I can't remember what exactly the phrasing was that Stewie Griffin once said. I think it was practically orgasmic.
It reminded me of the turtle video of the turtle having an orgasm, like.
Let's hear that one. Let's hear that one more time.
Our poor listeners.
Look at this nice break and a little love tap on
God
the 10
bless him.
pin. Chris Vige is feeding it out to that 4-5 board down lane. And look at this pin action. Oh.
Oh, I have a podcast with a bunch of men.
Love it so much.
And for Luke
You're
Mank's
so
kids,
wonderful.
you'll find out about that in grade 5.
It's
I think
yeah,
one
it's
of
part
them
of-
might be in grade 5.
it's part of bowling. Part of bowling, kids.
Turkey.
We were just about
Turkey.
to get out of here, Darty. Do you want to tell the people anything?
I don't have anything to add. I just heard that you guys are still on, so I figured I'd add to the bandwidth a little bit and just make one appearance, like a la naming Marty Zylstra.
Amazing. Well, tell the people where they can find us. How about that?
Well, you can find us at on the Instagram and the Twitter at Leafs Late Night. Pretty much all one word, if I'm not mistaken. You look us up, Leafs Late Night, you'll find us. We're also on Discord. I don't know if it's just Leafs Late Night Discord. I'm not on it because I'm a Luddite. I'm sure I'll be there one day. And we're getting a TikTok up, all right, eventually. So we'll be there. I'll be doing some dances. And
Yes.
it's Suthy will be sharing some gambling. And Beaner will give you facts of the
buddy.
week or something like that. And, there's a couple other hidden groups, all right? If you flattery will get you everywhere, okay? So if you love us, we may let you into the elite squad.
Darty, what do you think of Beaner's helmet?
Beaner's helmet is like why? Was he like
That's the
Dominic?
worst thing you've
is he
ever
like
seen,
Dominic-
maybe?
It's like Dominic Hasek. or
Imagine
something.
lining
Why
up
don't
on
you
that
just
guy on a face-off. What would you say to him? Like, what the fuck are you wearing here, bud? All game, it'd be
I
over.
wouldn't- yeah,
Easy
yeah,
there,
Tom, I wouldn't even put
Jaws.
soup in that bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, sorry, Bean.
Oh, since you brought up
Just call
our
him
friend
Jaws.
of the show, Marty, we got to congratulate Marty Zylstra, the performer, on signing a deal for an entire album, publishing deal.
Wow.
Congrats, Marty. That is a huge achievement. Good for you.
Yay!
That's awesome.
And nice Yeti mug there, bud. Like it.
Great work there, bud. And I got to tell our Canadian friend there, bud, Mikey D.
Buddy. Hey, buddy.
Curtis from Alberta in his pregame video wore a Michael Hutchison jersey, and I instantly thought of you
Oof.
because you are a Michael Hutchison stan. So
Are you really?
go watch the video. Yeah, he's a Mike.
I don't think we have
Hutch
time to dig
stan.
into this, but my goodness.
Shout out to Mikey D.
It might be one of
Hey.
the worst Leafs of all time.
And who can
Hey.
who Kyle Dubas traded him for?
Garrett Sparks.
Oh, which time? Which time?
They only traded him one time, and
Okay.
they traded
acquired
for
him
him.
twice.
They signed
trade
him,
you
and then they
one
traded him
time.
away.
Fuck, I don't know.
I'll give you a hint. It's a defenseman who has been pissing me off because he's scoring more than the rest of the Leafs defensemen are this year.
Callie Rosen.
Callie.
Oh. Callie Rosen doing all right in Arizona right now. We talked
Man.
about him
Beauty
on our
name.
Arizona pod.
There's only room for one Callie on our team, okay?
Yeah, agree.
And that's
Ooh.
Yarn
Not
Croc.
Fucking, yeah,
Don't
exactly.
mess with the yarn croc.
All right.
Crocky.
That's it. That's it. That's all for tonight. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll be back. When will we be back? We should probably set that out right now. I'm gonna get it. When's the next game? Tomorrow and
This is a back-to-back.
Wednesday.
You fool.
Yeah, I know. I knew.
Home to
I meant the next one after that. So it's not till Wednesday. So we should do my Sunday or Monday.
Well, I'm home tomorrow, so
I
maybe
can
this
do
is a secret
either.
episode.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll see. Thanks, guys. Sunday.
It's an on-the-spot dice spin.
Sunday.
Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Leafs Late Night, your night of post-game podcast. Available after every game on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, and more.
And follow me for more secret Gary Bettman nudes.
Ayo.